Hey sis, have you ever been around somebody and like physically, but emotionally you still felt alone? Like maybe like there wasn't, they were literally there physically in your presence, but maybe the relationship it exists, conversations happen, but still emotionally something always felt missing. Like you didn't feel seen, you don't feel safe, emotionally connected, or even emotionally nourished. It's just you're not fulfilled emotionally. And then what happens is it's like over time, that kind of loneliness that can become heavy because alone because emotional loneliness it hurts differently. If that's you, let's talk about it. My name's Melinda. I'm a registered nurse, life coach, and mentor. And on our channel, we focus on faith, healing, and emotional wellness. And I love bringing us topics that help us, holistically and just help us understand why and break down things, okay? And so, if any part of this message helps you or touches you, please like to let me know. And if this is your vibe, please subscribe. I love to have you on our family, on our YouTube, in our YouTube family. All right, let's get to it. So, many people think loneliness only means not having a person around. But the thing is that some of the deepest loneliness happens inside emotionally disconnected relationships. Yep. And research consistently also shows that emotional connection and secure attachment play a major role in like psychological well-being, stress regulation, and emotional health. And I don't think people realize this enough that like emotionally you need the person in the relationship too, not just physically. You could have a shell of a body but not emotionally be connected. Mhm. And the thing is that as human beings, like we are biologically wired for emotional connections, right? Not just physical presence, not just the physical. Okay. And so what happens is when emotional connections feels like inconsistent, distant, if they feel unavailable, distant, or emotionally unsafe, the nervous system oftentimes will feel like the distress of it. It's distressing on the nervous system. Let me say it again. Like emotional, when the emotional connection feels inconsistent, distant, unavailable, or emotionally unsafe, the nervous system can experience distress as a result of that. Even if the relationship, even if the relationship still technically exists. Hmm. And I think this kind of confuses a lot of people because some people think that just because you're here physically, like some people will say, "Well, I'm here, I'm home every day." Okay, your body's here, but mentally and emotionally you're not here. And so that's not a healthy relationship. You're physically present, but emotionally and mentally you're not. And so that can be stressing on the other person, on the relationship. That's why people sometimes go out and even if they're out and communicating, how people say that work husbands, work wives, they're emotionally connecting to that person, but not the person at home. And that is very detrimental to relationships because you're not emotionally connected to the person that you're in the relationship with. And that is a such thing as emotional cheating, even if it's not physical, because you're not giving all that energy to your partner, or they're not giving all that energy to you. Okay. And so people get that kind of confused that, oh, I'm at home. Well, yeah, physically, but what's happening, on the social media, what's happening on the phone, what's happening with the texts, what's happening at the work. So physically they're here, but mentally and emotionally they're not. And so that's what this is talking about, is that it could be very detrimental and hurtful to the other person. And so, like I said, people think that, like, they get it confused and they start to think like they don't understand why you say you feel alone because they're in the same house. Yep. It's like, let me give you an analogy because you guys know I love analogies. This would be like, okay, we're all sitting at the dinner table. You're sitting at the dinner table with your loved one, and let's picture this, sitting here, dinner table, food is physically present all on the table. You have this big old spread, but nothing actually in that spread is nourishing you. It's empty. So it looks good right there, but it's empty. It's empty calories. Nothing's nourishing you. It's a bunch of junk on the table, because not that the person is junk, but I'm saying like junk food, because it's not nourishing you, and it's not healthy as far as like this spread that we're talking about. Okay. So technically, you're sitting at the table, right? But internally, you're still starving because you don't have anything that's nourishing you. And that's the same thing with the relationship. Okay. So emotionally, that's exactly what's happening. And so let's talk about, though, like why this hurts so deeply. Because that's another thing that people don't understand. They feel like, I'm here. I don't understand. I come home every day. Okay. But let's talk about why it hurts deeply. Because emotionally unavailable relationships, here's what they create: a surface connection without emotional depth. Because we're not emotionally connecting, so there's no depth to this relationship. So it's just like surface level, okay? And so it also creates like having like the persona that everything looks good, that you have a physical presence, but you don't have any emotional intimacy. You have conversation, but there's no emotional safety. I'm not feeling safe here emotionally. And that's another thing people misunderstand. As somebody says they're not safe, that doesn't always mean physical safety. It could mean emotional safety too. Okay. And so anyway, over time what happens is that someone can start feeling, it could be you or somebody that you start feeling emotionally unseen, because it kind of evolves over time. So then it's like, emotionally, we're disconnected. They don't get me emotionally, not because you're too needy or they're too needy, but because emotional connection is a real human need. So next, let's talk about what's happening internally inside the body. So what happens is that, like, when emotional connection feels inconsistent or absent, then the nervous system can move then into hypervigilance. Okay, what does that look like, Melinda? That is like, next thing you know, the person that is feeling, that's the person, this person is not giving this person emotional connection. So now the person that's not getting an emotional connection, what can happen is they can start feeling like anxiety, have that hyper vigilance, overthinking. Now you're thinking like, okay, you're not talking to me, who you talk to? And why are you talking to everybody else and keying, but you can't talk to me and I'm in the house with you? Next thing you know, it's emotional longing because you feel alone. And so now some people, they just, now next thing it's wrong, but this is what happens sometimes. Some people start emotionally longing for other people or things because they're not getting it at home. And so then next thing you know, now you're drifting off and you know it's wrong, and you're the type of person that's not going to go there. But then it's like, okay, maybe I can find somebody else, or maybe somebody else would treat me better, that would appreciate me, that I can connect with. And so it makes your mind start thinking like all those things. Or you just could just be emotionally depleted, like done, put a fork in you, you're done. Because it's like next thing you know, you're shutting down because you're not getting this. Just because you're here doesn't mean anything. So these are things that it could cause. Okay. And because the body, what happens is the body just keeps searching for a connection, safety, reassurance, emotional closeness, because that's why, because as humans, that's something that we need. And so your body just keeps searching for that because it feels depleted in that area. Okay. And so what could happen is your mind could say things like, why do I still feel empty? I know they're here, he's here, she's here in the house, but why do I still feel empty? And your nervous system may really be saying like, I don't feel emotionally connected here. I just don't. I'm not feeling it. I don't feel connected here. And so let's kind of shift a little bit deeper, because it's important, because you are not too much for needing emotional connection. You are not too much just because you need emotional connection, because as a human, that's what we need. So if somebody's telling you you're too much, it's too this, it's too that, no, you are entitled to have emotional connection. Okay. And so emotional, just understand this too, that an emotional healthy relationship, so a relationship that's emotionally healthy, should not leave you constantly lonely, emotionally starving, unseen, or disconnected. You should be connecting with your partner or significant other. Okay? And sometimes healing, it means like accepting certain things, like that the physical presence is not the same as emotional availability. Physical presence, just because you go and you buy somebody all these gifts, or they buy you all these gifts, they do all this stuff, but emotionally they're not connected, it still feels empty. Because you could buy your own gift, I could buy my own gift. It's not about the gifts, okay? It's about the whole package. And so that realization can change everything, okay? Because a lot of people say, like, some people just stay emotionally attached to relationships that consistently leave them emotionally empty. Yep. Not because they're weak or anything like that. It's probably partially because they don't understand what's going on, or because they keep hoping that the connection will eventually arrive or get back to where it used to be. So they stay and try to, work it out in hopes that it's going to go back, or that they actually gain it if they never had it yet. And so, listen, God did not design love to leave you emotionally starving. That is not the life he has for you. He does not want you to be emotionally starving. And sometimes the deepest form of loneliness is continually reaching and searching for an emotional connection where emotional availability, it just doesn't exist. It just doesn't sometimes. And so that's the hardest and loneliness, hardest and most lonely situation to be in. It's like continually reaching for an emotional connection where emotional availability is not even there. It's not, it doesn't even exist. But the thing is that healing begins when you stop begging or asking, not begging like please, 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 but just like when you stop asking or trying to make somebody give you emotional nourishment from unemotional places. Sometimes they don't even have it to give. And that may be it. That may be the whole point. They may not even have it to give. But that's where your healing will begin. Like you know if they have it or not, based on like your relationship. And if they do and they're just not giving it, that's a choice you need to make. But sometimes also too, they don't even have it at all. And so again, that's a choice you'll need to make in your particular situation. So, in closing, though, if you've ever felt lonely inside a relationship, a friendship, or connection, just understand that like your pain is real. It does cause pain, and a lot of people just really don't understand that because they feel like my body's here, so what are you mad about? Just because you're here, that's like having a couch in the living room. That's like having a table to eat on. It's here, but that doesn't give me any nourishment. The actual food that I put on the plate gives me nourishment. So it's kind of like they need to understand that. And also understand that because emotional lonely cuts deeply, 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 that's another reason to kind of be cognizant of what's going on because it can cut so deeply. But healing happens when you can stop minimizing like what your nervous system has been trying to tell you, because remember, our body will give us signs of, things that are going wrong and stuff like that. So just remember that, hey, you need emotional safety too. Okay? And you deserve relationships where your heart feels nourished, not starved. Yep. So I hope this message helped you. If it did, please like and subscribe. Again, my name is Melinda. I'm a life coach. I am a coach, a life coach, a mentor, and a registered nurse. All right. So I hope you have a fabulous day. I hope this message helped you. And if it did, please like and subscribe. All right. I am wishing you peace, love, joy, and happiness. Bye.